Hello, my name is Brenda Izquierdo. I'm from the Investors team, and this is our Sprint 4 Daily Scrum Meetings video. My teammates are Alikia Pulipaka, Vinicius Siqueira, Liu, and UK Wu. Our product owner is Robert Hacker, and our mentor is Dr. Masoud Sajadi. Our first meeting of the sprint took place on October the 15th. The 5 team members were in attendance. The start time was 6:25 and the end time was 6:40. I worked on gathering resources for my user story. Liu finished the videos for user story 7. Alikia Pulipaka worked on user stories 18, 11, and 10. Vinicius Siqueira worked on user story 20. UK started working on user story 3. The next Scrum meeting took place on October the 16th. I worked on creating an upload button in the VIP project's detail page. I also started working on creating an upload form in Project Proposal and Project Proposal Controller so that the faculty staff could upload videos and executive summaries to projects. Liu started working on User Story 2. Alikia Pulipaka worked on user stories and coordination with the entrepreneurs team. Vinicius Siqueira finished User Story 20. UK Wall continued working on User Story 3. The next meeting took place on October the 17th. Since the last Scrum meeting, I had met with Bob to discuss User Story 24. He approved of the work but suggested that it would be better if the investor could specify his role more exactly. So for that, I created a new user story, which is Add Role drop-down menu to registration form. I also reviewed my code so far for User Story 23. Liu presenting User Story 7 to the product owner, who told him he was satisfied with this user story and with User Story 8. Bob also asked for a new requirement, which is that investors could see all team descriptions. Alikia Pulipaka met with Bob also and showed the User Story 6 and 9. Vinicius Siqueira showed Bob User Story 20. UK Wall also met with Bob and talked over User Story 22. The next Scrum meeting took place on October the 18th. I continued working on the upload form for User Story 23 on the user interface. Liu worked on trying to set up a new page to show the history. Alikia Pulipaka worked on user stories and documentation. Vinicius Siqueira worked on User Story 27. UK also worked on User Story 3. The next Scrum meeting took place on October the 19th. Since the last Scrum meeting, I worked on preventing non-staff faculty users from accessing the upload form. Liu worked on trying to use a new page to show the history. Alikia Pulipaka worked on User Story 6 and 9. Vinicius Siqueira worked on User Story 27 and UK Wall worked on User Story 3. The next Scrum meeting was on October the 22nd. Since the last Scrum meeting, I reviewed the code in User Story 23 and also tested a new code using the executive summaries provided by Bob. Liu tried to use a new page to show the history. Alikia Pulipaka was working on the use case sequence and class diagrams for her user stories. Vinicius Siqueira worked on the UML class diagrams, UML sequence diagrams, and the use case. UK Wall also worked on diagrams. The next Scrum meeting took place on October the 23rd. Since the last Scrum meeting, I worked on adding a success message function to the upload form, working on other backend tasks for adding attachments to the projects in the database, and also continued improving the user interface of the upload form. Liu working on trying to use a new floating window to show the history in the detail page. Alikia Pulipaka worked on testing and pushing the code to the investor branch. Vinicius Siqueira worked on UML sequence and use case diagrams. UK Wall tested his code and continued to work on his documentation. Our next meeting took place on October the 24th. Since the last Scrum meeting, I tested again the uploading of executive summaries to the database using files provided by Bob. I tested the access to the upload form. I also worked on customizing info and warning messages. Liu worked on trying to use a new floating window to show the history in the detail page. Alikia Plipaka created new tickets in Jira for the enhancements suggested by the product owner. Vinicius Siqueira worked on the UML sequence and use case diagrams. UK Wall also finished his code and was working on the documentation. Our next Scrum meeting took place on October the 25th. Since the last Scrum meeting, I finished my user story and created the use case sequence and class diagrams for that. Yi Liu tried to use a new floating window to show the history in the detail page. Alekia Plipaka pushed user story 4 to the team branch and picked up user stories 8, 11, and 10. Vinicius Siqueira worked on the UML class diagram, UML sequence diagram, and UML use case diagram. UK Wall also finished his documentation. The final Scrum meeting of Sprint 4 was on October the 26th. Since the last Scrum meeting, I finished the user story documentation for user story 23. Yi Liu used a new floating window to show the history in the detail page and finished the document for user story 2. Alikia Plipaka completed user stories and testing. Vinicius Siqueira finished the documentation for user story 27. UK will also finish all documentation for user story 3. For questions about this video, feel free to reach out to me. For questions about this project, you can email Dr. Masood Sajadi. And for questions regarding the Startup FIU program, you can reach out to Robert Hacker.